Hello there, welcome to People, Politics and Power. I am Imoni Amarire. Today on the program, we shall shift our attention to issues beyond Nigeria's borders, but which have very serious implications for Nigeria's national security. On the 20th of April 2021, the 66-year-old long-time ruler of Chad, President Idris Deby, was killed, reportedly from wounds suffered on the front line while battling rebels in the north of the country. Details of his death remain sketchy, as several analysts have described the developments that followed as a possible coup d'etat, effected through other means. Deby's death came one day after he won re-election for a sixth term as president. His 37-year-old son, a four-star general, Muhammad Idris Deby, took over as head of a military council that will rule the country during an 18-month transition period that will lead up to fresh elections and the restoration of democracy. This development runs contrary to the provisions of Chad's constitution, which says that in the absence of the president or his death, the Speaker of Parliament takes charge of the country for a period of 40 days until fresh elections are held. The Military Council also announced the dissolution of the Legislative Assembly and the suspension of the Constitution, a decision that received mixed reactions. Political watchers see it as part of the declining level of democracy, of democratic development on the African continent, while others see the military's action as a stabilization force. Chad has an estimated population of over 16 million people and shares an 85-kilometer long land border with Nigeria. This short boundary consists of a single straight line connecting Chad and Nigeria's tri-points with Niger and Cameroon. The entire stretch lies entirely in Lake Chad. However, given the dramatic decrease in the size of the lake over the last few decades, most of the boundary now runs across land, swamp, and intermittently exposed islands. Chad is currently battling a rebel group called Front for Change and Concord, otherwise known as FACT, which is based in the northern region of the country, near Libya. The rebel group had made inroads into the south of the country just before the death of Idris Deby. Chad has been an important and strategic ally in Nigeria's battle against the Boko Haram. Recapturing territories from the terrorist group as part of the multinational joint task force, along with Cameroon and Niger. With the worsening state of security in Nigeria, the death of Idris Deby, who was seen as a buffer between Nigeria and the Sahel region, could have serious implications for Nigeria's internal security. Now, this is how the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, described the situation at a State House media briefing recently.
So, security-wise, we are beefing up all our borders to ensure that refugees, they don't flow into our country. Even Nigerians, I'm sure some of them would like to come back. We have to make ready, we must prepare for them and allow them to come in and refuse others to come because of the problems that will create. The issue of weapons and armament, we are also afraid of that. All we are praying that the African countries will find a solution to the problem of Chad and get on moving as a democratic society.
Nigeria's security is today in a perilous state. Even after the change of service chiefs, on almost all fronts, the country is buffeted with insecurity. No one and no place appears to be safe. Boko Haram is said to have hoisted its flag in parts of Niger State, a few hours' drive from Abuja, the nation's capital. The Nigerian government now appears to be coming down from its high horse, as some of its officials have recently been appealing for foreign assistance in tackling the crippling internal security problem. But is this too little, too late? Or can the situation still be helped? Well, we shall examine what has gone wrong and make projections as to what could and should happen in the days, weeks, and months ahead. We are joined in the studio now by a team of analysts who will be helping us to break down the issues and provide solutions to them right after this time out.
Issues are critical, germane to Nigeria's democratic process.
Politicians can only be seen maybe on television by judges. They should not intermingle, because once you intermingle, then you destroy the systems.
When the personalities are big, important to national discourse.
When you reach certain stage in power and you demonstrate arrogance to the extreme, there's no other thing that will happen to you other than to fall.
When the developments are seemingly complex, confounding like a 1,000-piece jigsaw, that's when we require bold, sound, and analytical minds to help put the pieces together. Jigsaw with Benga Arileba, now showing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. on AIT. Jigsaw, demystifying the issues.
Well, let's get to meet our guest analysts, three of them here in the studio. Retired Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun, thank you so much for joining us. Also joining us is retired Major General Ede Gebre Ode. Thank you so much for joining us, General.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
And Dr. Suleiman Barnabas. He lectures at the Faculty of Management and Social Sciences at Bayes University here in the nation's capital. Dr. Barnabas, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For joining us.
Thank you.
Right. Let me begin with you, Air Commodore Balogun. This is an area where you are familiar with.
Okay.
It's a security issue. Now, what do you think are the security and strategic implications of what has happened in Chad? Let's begin from there.
The implications to Nigeria is that we have to be awake. We cannot go to sleep because we have been seeing it in the past that Boko Haram, ISWAP, and all the terrorist groups also have connections in Chad. Now, if Chad is destabilized, definitely the fallout will come into Nigeria. So what do we need to do then is to prepare for the fallout if it does come. And if it doesn't, if we are able to secure our borders, we will minimize the threats if it does happen. We just have to keep our eyes open and be prepared for them.
Well, Air Commodore Balogun talks about possible fallouts. But we know for certain that Chad has actually been a buffer between Nigeria and the Sahel region. And in spite of that, we have seen an inflow of arms from a fractured Libya, from fractured Mali, and one or two other countries in that sub-region. So definitely, we are not talking of possible fallouts. We should expect fallouts.
Yes, thank you very much. Just like you observed, there are likely to be implications of what is happening in Chad. And the problem in Chad did not just start today. It's been a long-standing issue, and I've always had a lot of problems. Now, you will recall that the rebel groups that are actually creating problems in Chad have connection with Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. And those are the people that have actually equipped them So if eventually they have any kind of footprint or foothold in Chad, the implication is likely that they're going to have a lot of impact on the Nigerian territory. So what we need to do, it means Nigeria should be interested in what is happening in Chad in terms of regime change and stability. Because if it's not done, I am aware that recently that the rebel groups have opted for a political settlement, of which the political authority in Chad have declined, that they will not want to negotiate with people who have killed their president. So Nigeria should be interested to make sure that at least those people do not have any footprint on Chad. Otherwise, there's going to be far-reaching implications on Nigeria.
Talking of interest, Dr. Barnabas, we know, what we know right now is that France is very interested in what happens in Chad, because it has always had a military foothold in Chad, from where it operates in that Sahel region. And we also know, for now, that the military council that has taken over is not a stable one. There are reports of differences within the military, within the Deby family, and of course, the political differences and the operations of the rebels that General has talked about. Now, given all of this scenario, why can we be sure that there will be some level of stability in that country in the weeks ahead?
Well, like the generals have said, is actually a problem that Nigeria needs to wake up to. Unfortunately, we haven't shown that leadership that ordinarily the Nigerian military or the Nigerian government should have actually displayed prior to even this. And it bothers me that we now see Deby as, the most outspoken, or someone who has shown more political will to deal with this problem before he died. And I think that's where we should actually be looking at and speaking to our political leaders, the president also, that they need to do more to show interest in what is happening. And doing more means that we need to equip our military more. We have the capacity, talking about, the men, but they need to be spurred on, they need to be, motivated, to do more. And this is the time that the president needs to talk to the African leaders, talk to the Nigerian people, because people live in fear when they do not hear from their president. We didn't elect Shehu Garba, or some of the people that we hear now. So the political settlement, the political angle to it requires that the president comes up and actually speak to the situation, assuring Nigerians that there wouldn't be problem because we have what it takes, in collaboration with our neighbors to actually bring these rebels, to their knees. The truth is that these rebels are more determined than our political leaders are actually determined to ending this problem. Once we show that, interest, and that will, of course, we have what it takes to protect our territory, as well as support other African countries to ensure that these religious fanatics that are causing trouble in the whole of Africa can be brought to their knees.
General Deby, or President Deby, was seen as a dependable ally of Nigeria while he was alive. Can we say the same of his successor, his son, who has now taken over, and the 15-member military council? Can we have that same level of confidence?
Well, it is too early to predict, but I do know that based on what his father was doing before he left, if he has been a member of his cabinet, obviously he's likely to toe the line that his father was doing. And again, he probably will see Nigeria as a big ally because of the implication and contiguity to that particular environment. So if he doesn't do that, there are implications. Because like I said, if they allow the rebel groups to have a foothold on that particular country, it has a lot of implications. So he needs to look for allies and alliances that will be able to show him and give him at least the confidence that he will be able to contain those rebels. And the whole of the Nigerian border and the rest of them, if it doesn't align with us very well, there are implications on it too. But just like you said, of course, there are other external factors to which the current president of Chad is likely to dance, so that is the interest of France. So Nigeria also has to team up to know what France is actually trying to do in that place so that it will be able to team up also with him. So it's not in an isolation, but with other countries that have interest in that sub-region, in that area.
Commodore, I think maybe we should stretch it a little bit beyond Chad now, because it has a common border with Libya. And Libya, as it is today, is a fractured society. Even though they have a UN-backed administration, we know that the security challenges in that country at the moment, that this situation on ground in Libya will impact on Chad and will impact directly on Nigeria as we move along.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, what we are suffering now started from Libya. The origin of the arms and everything started with the destabilization of Libya. And those things had to come somewhere. And they found ready markets with us in Nigeria, and it has aided Boko Haram to grow as they have grown. So, if Libya remained the way it is, still unstable, and could erupt at any time, we could still expect the fallout to come down. And with what is happening in Chad, which according to General Ude, we are not sure how it will turn out. But the key word is be vigilant. We can't go to sleep. We should be awaiting any emergency that could erupt from such angles. Not only Libya, even from Mali. These are hotspots that whatever happens over there will definitely have effect on us in Nigeria. So we just keep our eyes open and be on standby for eventualities.
All right, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be talking to another of our guests who's joining us via Zoom.
Did you know that AIT's social media handles have all changed? If you are one of the millions of our followers on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, this is introducing to you AIT's new official and rebranded social media handles. Like or follow us now on our Facebook page, Official AIT Live. If you're on Twitter, switch to our new handle at Official AIT Live and activate the notification button to get breaking news and updates on the go. For exclusive short videos and photo news, follow our Instagram account at Official AIT Live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Official AIT Live, and enjoy live streaming of news and your favorite programs, where you can also watch our broadcast materials at your own convenience. Note that Official AIT Live is the only authentic social media profile name with all the handles on our website ait.live, with a notification prompt to accept and receive breaking news and updates on the go. Log on to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube platforms on your smartphone, tablet device, laptop, and desktop to follow us now. AIT.live. On air, online, online.
Welcome back, and let's now get to join us. Mr. Murtala Abdullahi is a security analyst and a journalist. He's joining us virtually via Zoom. Hello, Mr. Abdullahi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Abdullahi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. Okay. Now, we're looking at the possible implications of the situation in Chad for Nigeria's current security situation. The insecurity in Nigeria today is a crippling one, and many people or many analysts think that it could have further negative impact on Nigeria's security if the situation in Chad is not properly handled. What's your take on this?
Well, that's actually true. Chad is a very important member of the multinational joint task force, which is headquarters with their sectional headquarters in Bagasola, a town in, around the Lake Chad shores. They played their own roles in tackling both Boko Haram and ISWAP in that area, and then occasionally they sent in troops or contingent into Nigeria to support Nigerian forces. They did so in 2015, which led to the recapture of some towns like Malam Faturi and other towns, and then the Nigerian forces then moved in. In 2019, after a series of raids in northern Borno, Chad deployed over 1,000 forces into northern Borno to complement the Nigerian troops. And they did that. They withdrew in January 2020. So Chad really has been a very important player. They've also sent troops to Mali, to stabilize the region. And when there's more stability in Mali, it's also important for our security. And so the death of Deby has really brought up concerns. However, Deby's regime itself has been a lot of problematic because of his authoritarian rule. He has been ruling the country for almost 30 years. The FARC rebel, which is fighting him, is also part of the political tension in Chad itself. And then they also pose threats to Nigeria in the sense that recently we heard that some of the columns of the rebels were in Difa region of Niger. And this is a region that is also close to the Lake Chad Basin. And there are concerns about proliferation of arms getting into the Lake Chad and then having groups like Boko Haram having access to these weapons. So yeah, there's really big concern, and that's why a lot of people have called for Nigeria to reinforce border security around this region and to also ensure that the Lake Chad Basin Commission and then the France are able to help Chad transition peacefully, that the military transition government in Chad is able to stabilize the policy there, and that internally the country is able to remain stable and also able to exercise its responsibility and carry out with its security obligations.
I'm sure that you have been listening to our guests, our analysts here in the studio, and what their take has been on the situation in Chad. Now, in Africa, and especially in the Sahel region, nothing can be taken for granted. Nothing can be, no one can be sure of what happens the next moment. Now, given the very porous nature of borders in Africa, and especially between Nigeria and its neighbors, is there a likelihood that we might see a spillover of the Chadian crisis into Nigeria if and when the rebel forces decide to advance into the south of the country, which of course is where the Nigerian border is located?
So really, this is an important conversation that should have happened, or it should be happening at the top of Nigerian national security architecture. Both the worst case scenario should be stimulated. What if the rebels succeed? What is the contingency plan by the Nigerian security? How do we reinforce our borders? And then by now, we should also be in contact in terms of intelligence sharing with our Nigerian counterpart and also the Chadian counterpart, providing them with whatever support that we can to ensure that the rebels are contained in the area that they are in Niger and also in northern Chad. France is a very important component in ensuring that the rebels do not make any advance into N'Djamena or other parts of Chad. And this is where, in fact, we should be lobbying the French government to enhance its support to the Chadian government and Chadian security forces to stop the rebels. Including political pressure. France has a lot of leverage over these rebels that could get them to stop their advance. And this is already what we are seeing in terms of the comments that have been made by Mohamed Deby, that's Idris Deby's son, who is currently leading the Transitional Military Council. So there are a lot of options, but Nigeria must be prepared for whatever I think is the worst case scenario. We have already seen the impact of proliferation of arms across the Sahel on Nigeria, either from the northwest to the northeast, where we have seen really groups becoming emboldened. So technically, arms proliferation is one of our biggest problems, and we don't want more arms in the region. The Chadians have already requested the Nigerians to push out the rebels from Difa region. And this is something that, in fact, Nigeria should really be talking about. But we have not heard a lot from the Nigerian government in terms of what it's doing to support the transition in Chad, because the political stability in Chad is important. We have not also heard what the Nigerian government in terms of providing security support to Chad and Niger to ensure that these rebels do not amplify the already fragile and volatile situation in the region.
All right, Mr. Abdullah, stay with us. Let me come back to our guests in the studio. They might have one or two things to say in response to what you have put there. General, let me come to you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, particularly on whether there is likely to be incursion into Nigeria if those rebels took over governance. But that depends on their own strategic end state. If their strategic end state is actually to take over the government of Chad, then it leaves to, you need to further interpret it. Because in Chad, there are a lot of, disenchantment among the populace. You have the division from the north and also the south and other various tribal groups. So actually, if eventually they take over, God forbid, then it could be that they would try to think about their own regime security and stability. before they start thinking of probably fanning out into Nigeria. Because if they do that, it means they are likely to leave their bag so open and will not be able to secure exactly what they have. So it depends on what their strategic end state is. Despite that, just like you said, we still have to have, just like the contributors say, we need to have a formidable contingency plan by trying to secure our borders. Unfortunately, the current security challenge in that particularly in the northern environment, brings to fore the challenge that we have now. That is the issue of Boko Haram. To what extent probably do they occupy those areas? So we'll be able to have an interface between us and that place. So if eventually they come on and also team up with those people, like I said, they already have alliance with the Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. So then it becomes a much more difficult situation for us. And that is the reason why we must do all that we can to make sure, first of all, we address the current security challenge of Boko Haram and terrorism in the north. Otherwise, when that one comes, it'll be a double-headed, a hard-headed problem that we'll not be able to address easily. So it's a very serious issue that we need to address.
Commodore, the last time you were here in this studio and we spoke about the security situation in Nigeria, things were not as bad as this.
Yep.
As it is today, Nigerian troops are spread so thin in almost every part of the country, trying to combat one security challenge or the other. If it's not the insurgency in the northeast, banditry in the northwest and middle belt, and in fact banditry in almost every part of the country today. They are spread so thin and all of that. And our expectation then was that with the coming of new service chiefs, things might change for the better. It doesn't appear to have happened. What has gone wrong?
Yeah, thank you. We discussed it here, and I think I said so then, that the change of the service chief might not be a silver bullet that will immediately change the equation. The change will definitely come, but it might take some time, because you have a system that's been running for close to 5 years, and suddenly you want to change it and you expect miracles. I said so, we shouldn't expect miracles, but we should see gradual improvement. And I think we are seeing the gradual improvement now, because the service chiefs and the CDS are now talking more together. They seem to be working more together than previously. So I think we still need to give them some more time and watch them evolve from what we used to have in the past. I believe they are still moving in the right direction.
So in your view, there has been more synergy between the services now than it was previously?
Oh yes, there has been more coordination, more synergy, because if you look at the theater right now, it used to be, yes, it's still Lafayette Dole, but you had the theater commander, you had the Air Force component commander, and you have the Navy guy there. But today, you have the theater commander who is Army, and then you have the deputy commander now who is Air Force. So gradually they are blending, and if it goes down the line to the tactical level, then they will work together, there will be more cooperation, and everything should improve.
Is there a possibility that the insurgents realize that, oh, these are new boys on the block and are taking advantage of that to carry out more attacks, as we have seen in recent times?
Yes, we always assume that our enemies are dull. They don't go to school. They also go to school and they are thinking. They see you change service chief. There must be a reason for you to be changing. And they are prepared and they want to counter it. Definitely, they will employ new tactics and strategies. Now, we must quickly evolve too and say, okay, since they have adopted this, this is our way of conquering or countering them. So yes, it came from an angle we were not expecting, but I don't think they have overwhelmed the armed forces. Yes, we are thinly spread all over Nigeria. I believe if we sit down and still plan with the resources we have, we can still prevail. So it is a possibility.
Dr. Barnabas, what's your take on this? Do you think that the situation right now can be remedied? I ask that's a question against the backdrop of the fact that initially it appeared that the Nigerian government was not too keen on seeking external help. But in recent days, we have seen and heard the president of the Senate, the Minister of Foreign Affairs speak at public events and ask for assistance from outside the country.
I think any country, that is fighting insurgents or terrorists, they need the cooperation of other nations. Not even the US, executes wars against enemy nations or terrorist groups on their own alone. And that's why they have NATO, they use other, they try to seek the assistance or the collaboration of some other friendly nations. And I think that we also need to do that. I think the president and his team have realized that they are not doing enough in that direction, and that's why they are reaching out now, coming up with new strategies and all to ensure that that happens. The commitment to it in terms of resources and weapons and all are also key to making it happen, beyond just saying that, okay, we want to, because what these nations, other presidents are looking for is also the financial support. They also need the resources and all. In fact, it was one of the reasons why Debbie got angry with the Nigerian government at that time, that the support they needed wasn't forthcoming as they had expected. So it's it's a good thing that we are thinking along that direction. And I hope that other countries, I mean, if you look at the way France is supporting Chad, you are impressed. I don't know if Britain is giving us that support as they should, or the US. And I think that if we approach them more, they will be willing. I think they are also claiming that whatever help we need, we should come forward. So there's no need arrogating any ego, trying to undermine that reality. We actually need to reach out to friendly countries, friendly militaries that are ready to help us to overcome this situation.
Now, Mr. Abdullahi, let me ask you this. Do you think that countries that make up the Chad Basin area, that is, those of them who are involved with the joint task force in the Chad Basin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Niger, Chad, that they are doing enough to halt the continued assault of the Boko Haram terrorists and other insurgents from that region into Nigeria and possibly into these other countries?
All right. Before I answer that, I would just like to add something on the FARC. FARC is the breakout faction of a major rebel group in Chad that they left after leaving Sudan. They went into Libya, and then they were based in southern Libya, where they also joined the forces of Marshal Haftar, one of the factions that were fighting for control of Libya. And more recently, there was a UN ceasefire between the two sides, both the UN organized government and then the Haftar's government. And part of the conditions for that ceasefire was for mercenaries, third parties that have been involved in the conflict to leave. And so there is suspicion that these Chadian rebels who were part of the Haftar forces supporting Haftar's advance in Libya ended up coming back to Libya with weapons, because this was in fact part of their objective of fighting with Haftar, so that they get experience, they get weapons, and they get cash to come over to Chad to continue their campaign against the Deby regime. On the multinational joint task force member states, there's much that it can do. We must not forget that the threat, the Boko Haram threat, began from Nigeria and expanded into these countries. And so for them also, they're trying to contain the situation and provide security, either in southwestern Niger Republic or the Lake Chad axis of Chad, and then far north Cameroon. Nigeria itself is what the presence of these violent extremist organizations in Nigeria is also a threat to these countries, and they have been doing a lot. Cameroonians have sent a lot of contingent into Nigeria to support Nigerian troops in their campaign more recently this year. In fact, there were possibility of Chadians sending also contingent this year to support campaign in northern Borno axis to support the Nigerian operation to Ratake Bongo that was initiated in January. So yes, these countries are doing a lot, but there's more that can be done. But you also need to check the resources that they have. There's a lot of issues around governance, around socio-economic issues that this government cannot provide, not to talk of spending a lot in terms of weapons and the military. And secondly, as we all know, that the counter-insurgency operation is not just a military operation alone. There has to be a socio-economic intervention to improve resilience of the people and also address the root causes of this conflict, both in terms of the ideological and the economic root causes of the violence. So yeah, I think that in terms of, I heard one of our panelists talking about what the French are doing, what the British are doing, what the US are doing. Yeah, a lot of countries in this region need a lot of support to combat this threat. Britain is providing some level of support to Nigeria, but there's a lot that can be done so also in terms of the US support. But Nigeria also needs to position itself correctly to gain access to this assistance. So issues like human rights have been one of the major impediments to the Nigerian military ability to gain support. There's what the US have as excess military equipment, which they sometimes provide to allied states and partners countering terrorism. And Nigeria has been a recipient of such equipment. However, because of our human rights issues that keep coming up in terms of how we conduct our security operations, not just in the Northeast, but across Nigeria, where you have serious cases of human rights violation, this actually stops a lot of these countries from providing us with the kind of support that we need. So Nigeria needs to, one, improve its human rights approach in terms of its security operations, ensuring that human rights is at the foundation of whatever security operations we are doing, that also our foreign policy is done in a manner that attracts the kind of assistance that we need. We do not have a lot of money to spend in terms of the military, so that's why we need whatever support that we can get. Not just to support the military, but to also improve resilience across the country.
Right, General, I need you to respond to some of those issues. It appears that there is some level of reluctance by some other foreign countries to assist with the Nigerian quagmire. And I say this against the backdrop of what the British Minister for Africa, James Dodridge, said just a few days ago, when he met with the Foreign Affairs Minister in Nigeria and said Nigeria's security situation is massively complex and no partnership can resolve it.
Well, in the current international security system, no country can go it all alone. Even the armed groups and terrorists and the rest of them, they have all their own alliances that show up their own capabilities. So no country can actually go on it alone. The country needs cooperation and alliances. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what scale of alliances do we have? Because we need to look at some of these countries and the antecedents on where they have gone to assist and what actually they live in those areas. We give examples like Syria, like Afghanistan, like Libya and other places. So if we are asking anybody to come and assist us, we need to know the scale of assistance actually we want to receive. Then in terms of equipment and the rest, like we talk about the international system, at the end of the day, if you want to get equipment from one particular country, perhaps US and other countries will begin to ask certain things you need to actually satisfy, we do that. So the political system need to actually look at it critically and know how to go around these challenges and find a way of trying to actually address so that we'll be able to have the required equipment and platform and assistance to address these security challenges. And again, probably some of those countries have their own interest in the country. You know that in some parts of the country, particularly when you have some mineral resources here and there, like in Zamfara and other places, you seem to have some more heightened security challenges. So what actually underscores some of these issues? So we need to critically look at it, why there are interest in those areas, and why it is difficult for us to actually get a go-ahead to actually cooperate with some of these countries.
Commodore, in most times, or in some of these cases, when we talk about foreign assistance, these foreign countries have always put on the table the issue of human rights abuses by the military. What exactly is at issue here?
Okay, we put up issues concerning human rights abuses because most times we don't tell our story enough. We allow the opponent to take over the airwaves. And it is what the international community here that they work on. We don't tell ourselves, we don't shout about what we have done or how those guys have been, oppressing us. They will say Nigeria had done this, Nigeria had done that. The international community will turn around and say we are committing crimes against humanity. Like when we were in Sierra Leone and Liberia, the rebels had the control of the airwaves. They were using their radio and everything. And we were not. Meanwhile, the foreign journalists that were in Freetown, yes, they were in Freetown, they were in Monrovia, but they never went to the hinterland. So whatever they were reporting were just hearsay. And even here now, most of the journalists, the international journalists, reside in the cities, in the major towns. They don't go to the battlefront. But then, whatever they pick up here is what they tell their host country. Their home country, and which their home country uses most time against us that because of we don't want to. But then, apart from that, most times we get assistance from the East, especially the Air Force. Why? Why is it not? Why don't we readily get foreign assistance from the West? I believe it's the way we do our business. Because I've been part of it in the past, and I know that going to the West, you must come with your hands clean. If you want to buy equipment from the West, you must be clean, you must be straightforward. But if you go to the East, anything can happen. You can find your way to buy whatever you want. And that's one of the reasons we have most of our equipment from the East. The West are ready for me, because when we asked for assistance in the beginning of, especially when Chibok girls were kidnapped, we asked some countries to come, and they came. Now, when they came to assist us, he said so. How did we receive them? How did we react to them? How did we treat them? Were they encouraged to do more for us, or they were not encouraged? When Africom came on board about how many years ago, they offered Nigeria the opportunity to host Africom. We turned it down. Yes, people argue that anywhere the US goes, violence follows. So based on that, we will not allow Africom in our territory because violence will follow. But since we did not accept Africom, have we been at peace? No. So I wish we could have strategic thinkers who will think more and say what we need right away than what we wish. There are differences. If you wish for something, you don't necessarily get it. But when you need to have something, you must find ways around it. All obstacles must be cleared. So I believe that if we re-strategize and change our approach, we could get assistance from anywhere, which we all need. We can't do it alone.
Dr. Barnabas, talking of approach, is there a problem with the way we have conducted our foreign policy in recent times? Is that what is hurting us now?
Yes, and also the politics of ethnicity, the politics of, what do we call it now? These are pressure groups, undermine national security also. You have, IPOB, for instance, Fenifere, Arewa Consultative Forum, and some other groups, who have their sympathizers in the US or in the West, and they are the ones who carry the news, just like General was saying. They are the ones who tell them there, they have, rapport with the lawmakers over there, with the government over there. So they are the ones who go and tell them, don't give weapons to Nigeria, they will use it to kill our people in our place. And we see all those things from the reports they bring. And when they hear those kind of things, then every effort from the Nigerian government, looking for assistance and all, will be seen that these weapons, once they come, they will use it criminally to a criminal end. So I still appeal for Nigerians, particularly at this point in time that we are in a very terrible security situations, to come together, to be united in fighting these terrorists. Because if you see what's happening in Chad, France has sacrificed democracy at the altar of security now. What they want is security. There has to be security first before you talk about democracy, government of the people. And that's why they are supporting the military government there. So our approach needs to change in the context of policy. It also has to change from our people. We should not, for the sake of trying to, castigate a particular regime or government, to run through these people and feed them with all kinds of information, either true or false, that will make them to actually not want to do business with us or to cooperate with us. I think that's also very important.
Mr. Abdullahi, in your view, what do you think that Nigeria is not doing right as far as its foreign relations is concerned here? How can we translate the intentions of keeping at bay the terrorists or the insurgents who are, as it were, coming in from outside this territory to cause havoc here, and then move back into that Chad basin, which has become almost a death trap, as it were, right now?
Well, our foreign policy is an important component of our national security. And our national security, holistically, there needs to be a strategy behind how we approach the policies or the component of our national security, either in terms of economics, in terms of development, in terms of policing, in terms of the military, and in terms of our foreign policy. Now, we have relationship with a lot of countries across the world, and each country has its own areas of strength. And this is where our foreign policy needs to work in terms of identifying areas where we can get certain level of support, either technical support, either military support. Sometimes the military support does not necessarily mean hardware. It could be from intelligence, satellite imagery, signal intelligence capabilities. One thing we really need to remember is that equipment is just a component of our counterinsurgency operations. The capacity of our soldiers, having the right skills and to conduct the operations that is required of them is huge. And we know that in 2014, 2015, some of our soldiers were trained in Belarus, in Pakistan. These are kind of the things that we can get from in terms of our foreign collaboration and assistance, having Nigerian soldiers to go to countries where they have extensive experience in terms of counterinsurgency to gain some of this knowledge and skills that they need to come and make use of it here. And because no matter how much equipment you have, if you don't have the skills to make maximum use of it, then it becomes really a problem for you. And so really, as you stated, strengthening our relationship with the Lake Chad Basin Commission states, ensuring that we act together as partners, as brothers, understanding that our security is entreated together, that the instability in one part of the region is also a threat to other part of the region, as we have seen. As we have seen, really. So there's a lot that needs to happen, really, in terms of our leadership, in terms of our engagement with partners, both our immediate partners and our foreign partners, be it the British, the Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, and also the countries around across the Lake Chad, Cameroon, Niger. This is a huge investment that we need to take seriously.
All right, Abdullahi, there's also the whole issue of the climatic situation in the Lake Chad Basin. Now, how is that actually fueling the insecurity in that region and in Nigeria particularly now?
So I'll say at the core of the insecurity across Nigeria and the Sahel is underdevelopment, is impoverishment, is lack of state presence, and climate change is amplifying this. What we have now is that farmers are not able to have yields that they used to have before. And this means more poverty. This means more grievances against the government. We are fishing communities that can no longer have access to the kind of income that they used to have. And all of this really, as this popular proverb that says, a hungry man is an angry man, and an idle man is a devil's workshop. We can really see that as long as people do not have economic livelihood, they don't have resilience, it leads to more conflict and more violence. And this is why we always reinforce the fact that the military component to tackling the Boko Haram insurgency or either the banditry in the Northwest is just one part of the solution. There has to be consistent effort to address the economic drivers of the conflict, to ensure that people have better farming techniques where they can have better yields, that they can engage in modern and sustainable fishing, which improves the standard of living. Once people eat well, they have better standard of living, there will be less tendencies, less grievances to pick up arms. And then you can also begin to fix other things like state presence. A lot of these communities for decades had no state presence, no social amenities, no governance style, nothing.
They were on governed spaces.
Exactly. So really, we need to have this multidimensional, robust plan to address the security situation across Nigeria.
All right, General, let me ask this question. He just talked about the capacity of the Nigerian military, of the Nigerian soldiers in prosecuting this war. Is there a lack of capacity or there's a lack of will?
Thank you very much. Well, if you talk about lack of will, that has been the political will. But I think from recent pronouncements from the presidency underscores their desire to ensure that at least the current security challenges are adequately addressed. Then you talk about operational will on the part of the army. No army can be as strong or stronger than its country desires it to be. Because the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 217, subsection 2, directed that the Federation shall have an armed forces subject to the Act of National Assembly that is well equipped and capable of carrying out its mission roles as stated in the Constitution. So the question we're going to ask ourselves, has the country been able to adequately equip the military to a desired scale and level that is supposed to be? Otherwise, there is no army actually that can be 100%, be 100% in any state of readiness. But to what extent are we equipped? That is what determines our scale of level and capability. But I think from the history of Nigerian Army, from its activities, both within and outside the country, Nigerian Army has been one of the best, proven country in Africa. Even the Nigerian soldier is believed to be one of the most disciplined soldiers. So if we have any challenge, it's probably because of the scale of equipment that has been equipped by the political masters. I think this is the issue that we need to address. I think we have capacity, but what is required, at least we need to be equipped up to some level to a scale that will be able to allow us to address all the security challenges that we have.
Commodore, you want to speak to that?
Yes, I believe we do. We have the capacity, we have the capability. But then, that was what we were fighting with when it wasn't this big. Now, what we have now is all over Nigeria. Initially, it was just northeast. Now you are fighting northwest, north central, southeast. Now, do you still continue to fight with what you had then? No, we need to step up because, like you said, we are thinly spread all over Nigeria. Now, to be able to face the current challenges, Nigerians must sit down and reassess what we have and see whether it can do the job effectively or efficiently. Because you may be doing something effectively but not efficiently. But then, when you want to get it done well, it must be efficient, it must be effective. Now, we can do more. The armed forces I've left the service for like 6 years, but still, I'm still in touch, and I know that what they have currently, they need to have more to be able to face the current challenges. Any other thing, we are deceiving ourselves. If you don't have enough resources to do the job, you will eventually do it. But a job of 6 months could last you 5 years. It could take 10 years. Because when you have enough resources and get everybody on board, you can get the job done. So I think we need to do more.
General, just one last question. There's been this clamor in some sections of the country for the engagement of foreign troops, or what they call mercenaries, to help in this. Do you think that perhaps we should resort to bringing back our military reserve? That is, retired people like you and others who have led, who have had this experience in the battlefront, to help with this in the various theaters that we are involved in right now.
Yes, thank you very much. Just like the earlier speaker said, that the Nigerian Army or the Nigerian military is seriously overstretched, and because of that, we talk about issues of troops requiring probably the troop surge in the various areas in the country where we are required to actually attend some of those operations. So the issue of the reserve could be addressed, subject to actually what we have on the ground. Also, we have reserve, but actually that has not been invoked. But I think the current Chief of Defense Staff that has come in is trying to look at it with a view to actually addressing and see how they can invoke that requirement for the reserve. But despite that, Nigeria is a very populous country that has the required youth and people who will be required to be recruited. But if you have the required funding here and there, it's very easy to recruit the required number of people, strength of people to actually address the security challenges that we have. But actually, we need more men to actually address some of the security challenges that we have, because we are thinly spread almost in every part of the country. So how are we going to do it except to actually have massive recruitment at all levels? I think that is very important.
All right. Dr. Barnabas, 30 seconds.
Again, I think the Nigerian police, if they are as effective as they should be, and I'm not blaming the force, the political leadership has to train and provide the resources so that it can relieve the army or some of the jobs they are doing internally. Because the army is what is policing the country now, and that's not good for us.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your time and for your contributions. Retired Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun has been with us. He's been joined by retired Major General Ede Gabriel Ode. Thank you so much, General. And Dr. Suleiman Barnabas, who lectures at the Faculty of Management and Social Sciences at Bayes University here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, Murtala Abdullahi is a security analyst and a journalist who's joined us virtually via Zoom. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullahi, for your time. And for you, the viewer out there, we thank you for investing your time with us. We look forward to bringing you another very critical issue in national and international development. And of course, remember that the people remain the focus of every developmental process. My name is Imoni Amarere. Bye for now.